video shows police arresting two skateboarders who were accused of trespassing at a skate park.
Chaos breaks out in Hollywood after a skateboarding festival gets out of control.
Picture for a minute. A beach in LA in the 1960s. While riding waves became the newest craze, surfers in California sought ways to replicate the feeling of surfing on land, leading to the creation of the first skateboards. Initially called sidewalk surfing, these early skateboards consisted of wooden planks attached to roller skate wheels. Nothing fancy, but it did the job. The sport gained momentum in the 1970s with the development of specialized equipment, such as polyurethane wheels and curved aerodynamic tails, facilitating a plethora of new tricks and maneuvers that weren't possible with surfing waves. Skateboarding became its own unique thing that no one had really seen before. Cheap, fun, and easily accessible, it took the coast by storm, and quickly spread to the rest of the US by the late 60s. Skateboarding communities started to pop up in the impoverished neighborhoods of LA and New York City by the end of the decade, but what started as a hobby soon became a source of judgment for many. With the election of Richard Nixon in 1968, uncertainties in lower-class neighborhoods were growing on the daily. When Nixon's promise of a family assistance plan fell through, the poverty rate remained dormant, with no change in sight. With increased police presence in impoverished communities and a major crackdown on drug use, it was a bad recipe for unjust targeting and increased tension. Police and local government officials started to adopt a guilty by association mindset when it came to skateboarders, as the sport was most popular in those targeted communities. In some cases, skateboarding was banned in major cities for fear of them disrupting the peace. They became stereotyped as slackers, troublemakers, punks, and delinquents, bound to bring drugs and crime to the city. Banned from public spaces, sidewalks, and parks, they didn't have much of a choice but to stay back where they came from. This stayed the unfortunate reality for decades. The ban started to be lifted in the late 70s and 80s, and the stigma slowly reduced, but skateboarders, no matter their background, continued to be stereotyped as delinquents. In comes the 1990s, when the sport of skateboarding changed forever. Finally, the first mainstream competition for skateboarding was shown on national television, the 1995 X Games, on SPN, one of the biggest sports networks to this day. This changed everything. The introduction of an extreme sport competition in such a mainstream way made it cool to be a skater. It made it cool to be a little bit of an outcast, to be a risk taker, to be different. With national coverage, more skaters all over the country were taking interest in the ever-growing skate community. At the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, I found my own place in this community, and I quickly learned that stereotypes no longer hold a firm grasp on skaters. They're not afraid to be called different. In fact, they joyfully embrace that title and everything that comes with it. Well, joyful isn't the word I'd use to describe getting the cops called on you in the completely empty parking deck, but everything else is great. Skateboarding has transcended its rebellious image. It's not just a sport, it's a culture, a lifestyle. Through perseverance and passion, skaters have reshaped public perception, proving that what was once deemed delinquent can transform into a positive force for change. There's space for newcomers, space for learning and growth, but there never was and never will be a place for hate.